Hello and a warm welcome to Federal Special Program Capital Beat. Now, what has happened is that Railways has announced an ex gratia amount of 10 lakh to each of the families who died in the New Delhi stampede, which happened on Sunday. Now, this payment has been made early morning, and the you remember 18 people died in the stampede. Many were injured badly. So the total compensation, which was paid early morning on Sunday, was roughly 2 crore rupees. And this is what the various media websites today have reported, that wads of cash up to 10 lakh each were handed over to each family of the dead. Now, if you look at the 2023 guidelines, which govern the distribution of the ex gratia amounts, the railways can give only up to 50,000 in cash for the immediate relief, and the rest should be paid through check, through RTGS or NEFT or any other online payment mode. The guideline says this very clearly. And the worst part is that it's not only a violation of this guideline, but the announcement of the compensation came around 11 a.m. on Sunday. But the disbursement started at 4 in the morning. And this is what the media websites are asking, that how could the disbursement of the compensation begin at 4 in the morning, even before the official announcement for the compensation was made? So there are two issues. That was the government rattled so much by this New Delhi station stampede that it tried to silence everyone, because the government got worried that the situation might go out of hand. And therefore, was this a compensation in the real sense, or was it like a hush money to silence the people? Uh, Joining me now is TK Rajlakshmi, Senior Deputy Editor from the Frontline magazine, and Abhishek Rawat, Senior Journalist from the Federal. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining. And I'll begin with Rajlakshmi. Rajlakshmi, what do you really have to say about this? This full and final payment being made in such a hush, and right from 4 in the morning till about 7:30 or 8 o'clock, all the disbursements were done. And whereas you see there is a history of how the compensations lag behind, people run behind the compensation payments for years and years. But here you had an incident where the compensation was made in a jiffy. What would you really say to that, and even flouting the guidelines?
True, Nilu. It's quite clear that the stampede has resulted in a fair amount of bad publicity for the government and the arrangements that have been made. I mean, because definitely a big question, has arisen that in the face of this advertisement blitz, and propaganda about the Mahakumbh and of course everybody sees that it's that there's a certain political objective also behind that and therefore the least that one could have expected, and in fact everybody's asking this question, that if the government, both the central as well as the UP state government, have been really tomming about Mahakumbh and its fantastic arrangements, then this is the least that they could have done, should have done. I mean, in terms of crowd management and streamlining the process of devotees, reaching the Mahakumbh. But clearly, that was not done, and which is what the stampede showed. It is not just a issue of platforms being changed, and that people getting all excited, and rushing towards the platform. And I mean, the way certain descriptions have have put it, as if the blame lies solely on the people themselves for not being orderly. When, I mean, for instance, initial tweets of some people in government seem to suggest that, because of disorderly crowds, etc. So, I mean, as if it was the onus was on them. The onus was squarely on, let's say, the ministry, on, let's say, the railway ministry, the central government as a whole, and the state government of UP as
No,
such,
but
which
there's
is.
another thing, Rajlakshmi. Do you think that the compensations were made in such a hurry, so that questions regarding the accountability are not raised? Because people are saying that the railway minister should take the onus, prime minister should take the onus of what happened. So people don't ask for the accountability, and which is why they rushed up with the compensation.
True, Nilu, it does seem a little bit surprising that they should hurry with the compensation part of it, because normally one would assume that this should follow a certain process, as you yourself have described, that a certain amount is given in cash, and the rest is given by check, or it's a transfer to the account, etc. Now these huge amounts of money which have been given to the affected families in cash, and that too within a extremely short span of time. I mean, I suppose even before the funeral rites of of the affected, those who perished, have been completed. So I mean, it's quite clear that the government wants to show that it is highly sensitive, okay, when it comes to this. But yes, I mean, if nobody's objecting on to that extent, that it should be given compensation, the government should be held squarely responsible for all its omissions and commissions. And it's not just only that, yes, it is set up in an inquiry committee, but it is clear that the aggrieved families are going to talk to the press. They are going to talk to the talk about this, and the hurt is going to last far, far, for a far, in fact, longer period, for in fact, the rest of their lives. People who have
Right.
lost, their closest of kin are going to feel it. The children have been killed. Mothers have died. I mean, I think leaving families, orphaned in that sense. Children orphaned in that sense. So these questions are going to linger, and therefore the illusion that it could be that it was some kind of a hush money, as you said. I mean, this question is bound to come up. Since when has any government been so sort of efficient and so sort of let's say the central government, for instance, Nilu, the floods, in Wayanad, we knew the kind of devastation it caused, and the government just dragged its feet over sort of giving the relief that it should have given, in a time bound fashion.
Right.
So it's clearly, more than sort of meets the eye. And first of all, it this tragedy comes in the wake of within, in fact, less than a month's time of
Right.
the stampede
Rapid
that
India
occurred in Cook,
tragedy.
where also it's been alleged that a cover up has sort of taken place. And now this talk of conspiracy that must have created the stampede. I mean, this is really, these are all, I think, there's all attempts to obfuscate the uh, the crowd uh, management, which should have
Right.
been in the first place. Yeah.
No, clearly, it's a failure of the entire the manner in which this episode was handled. But Abhishek, coming to you, the media reports which are published, Himanshu Upadhyay, who's the CPRO of the Northern Railways, he was asked few questions that do these distributions of compensation violate a 2023 guideline, and he was also asked that if it was unusual for a family to receive 10 lakh in cash. And till date, he hasn't replied. In fact, there was another railway official, which the media reports have said, on condition of anonymity. And what he has said is that, this compensation was done with an aim to provide immediate relief without delay. Now, what do you think is the major reason? The CPRO, Himanshu Upadhyay, has not responded, but on condition of anonymity, the other railway official has said that the idea was to provide immediate relief without delay. Now, do we take this statement with a pinch of salt?
Yeah, actually, Nilu, that we have to understand why the compensation given to anyone. The only concern about the compensation is that such kind of relief, economic relief given to the families, grieved families, so that uh, they could get help from government about their big loss. So in this case, if the government release immediate compensation to these grieved families, then there is, uh, in my view, this is not very much very big issue, because in many cases we have to learn that after the declaration of compensation, the grieved families could not able to get the compensation on time. We heard about the news that in so many cases, after declaration of compensation, the amount of compensation has not been or had not been given to the families in so many years. But in this case, the compensation amount has given to the grieved families in very short time or in very little time. So this could be helpful for the grieved families. But the main issue is that the lack of railways, which had shown in this case, because on the day of incident, in initial hours, railway uh, could not able to agree with the media persons that this incident is occurred due to stampede. They uh, bluntly denied that there is not any kind of incident happened at New Delhi railway station. No stampede had happened in New Delhi station in the initial hours. Uh, uh, First time the Delhi LG mentioned about the loss of life by his tweet, and then after the other senior leaders of our country like Prime Minister Modi, Rajnath Singh, the Defense Minister, and Central Home Minister Amit Shah, in their tweets they mentioned the loss of life, and they also mentioned that stampede happened at New Delhi railway stations. But neither our railway minister nor the railway department uh, were agree with media, with questions of media about the stampede happened at New Delhi railway station. So this is the big concern, that railway and railway minister both are not taking their responsibility, uh, which should be taken by them, because this happened at the in the capital of uh, our national capital Delhi, and on the very important and big railway station of this capital. So this is the way the railways deal, and I think that uh, uh, some senior authorities also directed to railways to give this compensation where in very little time to the grieved families, so that somehow their voice could be uh, till down in front of media. This is just my opinion. Yeah.
Uh, but Rajlakshmi, if you look at it legally, legally this bit cannot be challenged because finally they say that okay, we do not know whether this is this the guidelines, even if it's a violation of the guideline, but at the end of the day, the full and final compensation has been made, so it has come as a relief. But why do you think there is such a hue and cry about this? Hushed compensation which has been made now. Is the government trying to do a cover up? Is the government so rattled and nervous that they don't want any kind of bad publicity, and which is why they didn't want to leave any possibility where they get a bad press, and so they thought that it's best to give the final compensation, whereas it doesn't happen in usual circumstances? So you find it rather unusual, and which is why the media has reported it.
See, it does deflect, a little bit of the criticism from the government. I mean, if compensation has been awarded, and in fact, that is the least that it should have done. So it can't say that that we've given compensation, in record time. Therefore, the other questions, should not be asked. Okay, but the fact remains, that people are so miserable, and they and the those people who were going to the Kumbh Mela, they were traveling in the general compartments. So clearly, they belong to lower, middle class families, and for them, 10 lakh rupees is a huge amount, and therefore the loss that they have faced in their families would be sort of temporarily, sort of salvaged or salved, but it can't be the end of the accountability, the end of accountability as far as the government is concerned. And I would not say, I would not say that that the onus was entirely, the railways. As a Of course, it is responsible to the extent that it should have anticipated. But then this program, the Mahakumbh program, is not just that of the railways. The railways is just a mode of transport for people to reach that place. I mean, if the Mahakumbh has been a tool of, let's say, propaganda by the central government as well as by the state government of UP. So I think there has to be some collective responsibility as far as the stampede goes. I mean, because if there has been so much of propaganda, it continues to be so. We hear all these jingles on the radio today. People say that, the frenzy is such, because it's all about attaining, moksha. Okay, because the Mahakumbh signifies that to attain moksha from the chakra of life and death. So for many people, it's a very significant thing, and for the kind of, distress that they face in their lives, they feel, that a dip in the Triveni will help them. I mean, help them reach salvation of some sort, and that they won't have to go through their entire sort of life cycle and be reborn as a human being, etc. Anyhow, but the fact remains is that, if there has been so much hype around this festival. I mean, it was, and which, of course, we have the prime minister going and taking a dip. We have senior ministers, etc. Going and taking a dip in the holy Triveni. But the onus for that, it's not just that they're you know, in fact, reaching the Triveni, has to be sort of facilitated. Every ordinary Indian should have had that access, and 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 also the right to life. I'm saying, why should you lose your life over this? But then, lives are cheap. So here I'm saying is that, the government, as a whole, should take responsibility. It's not just the Ministry of Railways. Why weren't these things anticipated? That is a
Absolutely.
question. That's a question, Nilu.
But according to the media reports, Abhishek, the all of a sudden announcement of about the change of platform, and which led to the stampede. Now, are you hearing anything from the railway ministry on fixing the accountability? Will any official be penalized for it? Who is taking the responsibility, or everything will be brushed under the carpet because the government has paid full and final compensation, and now there is no reason why the victims will make a hue and cry?
No, as far as my concern, what I have got to know from Delhi police sources, that there was a confusion due to the similar name in two trains. Actually, at the platform number 14 and 15, there were passengers of two trains were already there, and third train, the Prayagraj Express, was also bound from that platform, and the passengers of that train were reached at the platform. And due to some delay, there was so much, there was huge crowd on those platforms, that no at the same time, an announcement was held, and in that announcement, what police sources told us that the railways announced that the Prayagraj special train bound to Kumbh Mela was going from platform number 16. So the passengers of Prayagraj Express assumed that the Prayagraj Express was bound from platform number 16 instead of platform number 14 or 15. So they all were rushed towards platform number 16, and due to this confusion, the panic was started there, and this panic converted into that stampede. So this was the trigger point, and all these aspects of investigations are being investigated by two-member committee of railways, which was constituted after this incident. And as far as the compensations matter, that it may be possible that all the grieved families may not talk very much about in front of media, because somehow they got a little kind of relief from the government in economic way, but they lost their whole in this incident. So we have to wait for the inquiry report that was constituted by the railways, and then also police sources also said that their investigation is dependent on that investigation report, because if the report indicates some cognizable offense, then may be possible that police may register FIR in this matter. And if the act was comes under uh, non-cognizable offense, then no FIR will be registered and no inquiry will be going on from that. So we have to wait for that inquiry report, and let's wait in how many days the inquiry uh, could be ended, and then what will be in the inquiry report.
So, towards the end, Rajlakshmi, does it look like that the government was really scared of the bad publicity, and the victims, if the compensation had been lingering, the victims would have spoken to the press and what they had to go through and all of that. So, just to avoid this, they made this hurried compensation to avoid the bad publicity, which is a clear indication of the fact that the government was really rattled. Would you say that towards the end?
See, Nilu, of course, this is a way to buy some time, and also to assuage the anger of those who have lost their loved ones in this tragedy. But I think that this entire inquiry also which will happen, it should not. I mean, it will. I think ultimately target a few, I think, railway officials, that why did you make this announcements? Because if everything is hinged on that, that it was an announcement that caused this frenzy, then obviously then there's nothing more to really look forward to. Then there's no accountability at the highest level. I think that some heads ought to roll at the highest level. It's not that you can just pin it on a certain railway officials, who made those announcements. These kind of change of platform announcements are standard, routine. It happens, it happens on a routine basis. I mean, you have trains that are supposed to schedule to arrive at one particular platform, but they end up arriving at some other platform. But but in view of the fact, as I said, this has been the entire Mahakumbh festival, has been touted as a big achievement, and its arrangements have been touted as a big achievement, right from the top, and also the leadership of the state government of UP. And I don't see any reason why there should not have been a certain coordinated approach to arranging the travel of the devotees, so that they all go home, they all go there, they do the dip and come back home safely. I think this is what all of them wanted. I mean, who would have thought in their the wildest dreams that they would lose their lives like this, getting suffocated in a crowd? I'm saying, this is absolutely callous, Neelu. This in fact deserves no sympathy at any level. And I think crucifying just a few railway officials and making the railways the scapegoat as such is not going to be enough, because I'm sure the Home Ministry should also be held culpable. The top. I mean, as I said, it should there has to be some accountability at the topmost levels. It's not just a question of few railway officials, sort of making an announcement, and therefore this all went south. It's
Absolutely.
not
And the
right.
biggest question is that why can't the accountability be fixed at the top level? That's the biggest question. And the second most important thing is, will we ever come to know the reality as to what actually led to this stampede, and how much of a cover up has the government done? That also remains a mystery. Thank you so much, Raj Lakshmi and Abhishek. It was wonderful to have both of you on the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you.